Science Olympiad is, and it said Science Olympiad competitions are like academic track meets, consisting of a series of 23 teams events in the high school division. Each year, a portion of the events are rotated to reflect the ever-changing nature of genetics, earth science, chemistry, anatomy, physics, geology, mechanical engineering, and technology. By combining events from all areas of science, Science Olympiad encourages a wide cross-section of students to get involved. Emphasis is placed on active, hands-on group participation. Teamwork is a required skill in most scientific careers today, and Science Olympiad encourages group learning by designing events that forge alliances in which a partner is the key to success. So basically, Science Olympiad would be a great facet for any science program, and we would really like it for it to be at the high school.
And I'll just quickly add, Ms. Corrett, the ladies forgot to introduce themselves. This is Isha Jean and Jenna Crawford, and they are two of a small contingent of students that have participated at the middle school level of Science Olympiad and are very passionate about continuing the program at the high school level. We thought it would be fitting to propose it. It is a nationally renowned program. I like how it ties in all the disciplines of science, and it's a very good program that would provide them the very good experience to compete at the high school level and continue on that middle school program.
A question for John.
Yes.
So is this, I just want to make sure, is this a club that we'd have to, would it be positioned as a club that we'd have to approve, and then Ms. Corrett would be the advisor for the club? That's the way we do other clubs, that when you come to us with proposals?
That's not an easy question to answer, because the Science Olympiad program, I would answer it this way, Mr. Webster. I think the goal here is to mirror the program that was instituted at the middle school. And I don't believe the middle school program is a club in the same vein that our extracurricular activity clubs are, but is a separate entity, almost a parent-run and parent-organized group. That's my understanding of the middle school Science
The question is
Olympiad
getting
program.
more toward remuneration of the advisor.
No, I believe I believe the middle school Science Olympiad program is paid separately through
Okay.
fees and fundraising
Okay.
that are charged.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
So I think it is different in that it's, that's why I said it's not really a yes or no answer to the question. I think it is a very different concept than we're used to.
Right.
It's separately run. It's a parent organization, that's separate, almost a company
Okay.
that is operating out there.
So they fund it
And
and-
they fund it.
Okay.
Their students pay a fee at this point, but the idea is that as time goes on, that we'll get sponsorships for it from, and the sponsorships are from large companies like Lockheed and that kind of thing. I was a coach on 3 of the events at the middle school this past year, and so I'm somewhat familiar with the program, and I think it's a really good program. It gives the kids a lot of hands-on. They feel a sense of accomplishment at the end of really competing against some of the best science students in the area, and at some point, perhaps outside the area. Reading's had a program like this for 15 years or so, some large number of years, and they're the masters at it. But this past year, the events that I was involved in, we had our varsity team scored, came in second place in 2 of those events, and our junior varsity team came in first place in 2 of those events, which that meant that we beat out Reading, which is no small feat. So it was a very, very good event, and the kids got a lot out of it.
Sounds great to me. I think anything we can do to further the penetration of science and math into the high school and get more kids interested is great. I just want to, the other thing I want to be clear on is, if you get more than 15 students, but basically students have to apply to be part of this, correct? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I'm very excited. I'm actually really happy that it's being presented by 2 young women. As I'm a scientist too, and so I think this is wonderful. Actually, 3 of our committee members are in science technology. So I think this will be something that's very fun, and I didn't have it growing up, so it sounds like a great opportunity.
I do know that water freezes at 32 Fahrenheit. So
That's great.
I'm fairly advanced in science myself.
It's a 4 out of 5.
I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the North Reading High School's participation in the Science
I'd
Olympiad
be
program.
pleased to make that motion.
And I would second.
Motion by Mr. Bowers, seconded by Mrs. Ericetti. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All set.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Good luck, girls.
And
Mr.
you can't-
Bernard.
And you can't believe how fast our batteries were. They were incredible.
Sounds so much fun.
We're going to have John Bernard up
Science fair and.
for a couple other issues. Before John starts, though, he sent out an email actually today, and I got an email from a couple other sources. And this is something that Mr. Bowers had mentioned last year, and we continue to, for the third straight year, we're on the list of the top high schools in America, Newsweek's list. And, you know, you might say, wow, there's 1,600 schools on the list, big deal. Well, there's 27,000 public high schools in the country. And, you know, it's a very narrow criteria, but to me, it's a very important criteria. They measure how many students take AP courses, or I think there's a baccalaureate test that some high schools give that's somewhat equivalent to APs. And then they divide it by the number of graduating students, and they come up with an index. And so you might say, well, that's not measuring a lot, but it is, because if you have kids and staff interested in participating in the AP program, I think it says a lot about the rigor of the curriculum of your school. And, you know, we continue to move up a couple hundred spaces over last year. I think Cliff mentioned we closed the gap on Linfield and a couple other
And
communities.
Andover.
Linfield and Andover, we've closed the gap some with both of them. And what's interesting is that out of the 27 schools that are in Massachusetts
Right.
on the list, 3 of them are adjacent here, Linfield, North Reading, and Andover.
Right.
It's kind of interesting.
And the index number that they talk about climbed significantly this year for us, which is important. For every student graduating, the numbers go back 2009, there were 1.3 AP tests taken by those students. So the more students that take the AP tests, then they divide that by the graduating class, the higher our index goes. But it's pretty impressive, and the Newsweek has a big Q&A on the website because they've been getting a lot of challenges about measuring this way, and they really do give a good rationalization. You know, the author says, participation in challenging courses and tests, on the other hand, can be counted, and the results expose a significant failing in most high schools. Less than 6% of the public high schools in the United States qualify for the Newsweek list. I think that this is the most useful quantitative measure of a high school, and one of its strengths is the narrowness of the criteria. So I just think that it's really important to mention this a couple days after our graduation, and seeing the students we see here tonight and how bright and involved they are. And it's a job well done at the high school.
And when you look at the list of Massachusetts public high schools that show up on that list, it's the list you want to be on.
Exactly.
We've moved up from being in the top 6% in the country last year to the top 5%
Right.
in the country this year.
Right.
That's a significant improvement in position. It's actually even better than 5%. It's like 4.76% or something.
4.67, I was
Not
excited.
the,
Your calculation was
the
great.
number of significant figures is a question of how important that is. But
I do think, I anticipated you might bring this up tonight, Mr. Webster, and I'm glad you did, because I think it is very good news. I think it speaks more to than just the performance on the advanced placement exams for our students. I think it also speaks to the access that we've provided over the years for students to take advanced placement tests, and that has been a significant factor as to why we've become part of the award for the last couple of years. I put together, not to dwell on it too much, but it is good news, and I do think it begs at least a little bit of maybe some statistical insight, just for a reminder to the committee, because I know that you all have received over the years the reports that I put together each summer on our students' performance on advanced placement exams. Just in 2004, not that long ago, we administered 88 advanced placement exams at the high school. In 2009, we administered 229. In 2010, we don't have the scores yet for this past year, but we administered 241. So we're up even a little bit more than we were last year. But I think more than that, our students' performance on advanced placement exams has also climbed from an average of 52% of students in 2004 scoring a 3, 4, or 5, the three highest scores on the AP exam. So 52% in 2004 to 64% last year. So that number is also growing. You know, there's a bit of a risk when you open up the access to advanced placement exams, as I did when I became the principal in 2003, to allow juniors to take the test. But I think the results show that not only are our students doing well, but I think even those students who maybe struggle a little bit in an advanced placement course are still benefiting to a degree where they're gaining some insight into courses that they might not otherwise have been able to do. And I have to think that that translates into some success at college for them. So it's good news. I mean, I've always said when I've come before you, I have a staff that works very, very hard. We have students that work very hard. It is not at all an accolade for the principal. It's an accolade for the high school and the district. And I want to make sure that people realize that it's a lot of people putting the effort forward to make these kinds of things happen. So thank you for bringing it up, and hopefully the transcript is covering it well too. Well, are you writing away over there?
And John, I know you can't believe it. You're sitting there ready to present us after some textbooks, the handbook, and Mr. Venezia is not present tonight.
I'm going to hurry because he's coming late. Because I'm gonna jump in.
He may be here late, but you...
I'm going to remind you, he approved it last year. I took that approval last year. Unanimous approval.
In fact, when he told me he may have a conflict, I'll be honest, I called him this afternoon and I said, Jerry, Mr. Bernard's there tonight presenting the handbook. You have to be there. But I don't know, so...
Should we inform Mike as to why this is such a big deal?
It gets to the tardy and absence policies, basically.
But I think
is
he
the-
resolved it last year because he approved it.
There is still one issue, and I'll bring it up, but I think it's a
Minor?
issue.
Okay.
Very minor.
Do you want me to do the
Why don't you do the textbooks first, yeah,
Okay.
and then...
The textbook adoptions that I would like to present to you all tonight for your approval is 3 of the courses that I came in on the spring to propose for introduction in September are running next year. There are a couple that aren't. We're not running the marketing and sales course or the international business course just because there was not enough student interest in those for next year. But of the other 6, 4 of them are running. There are, of the remaining 5, 4 of those are running that need a textbook approval. Okay, the junior senior phys ed elective does not. But the biochemistry course, I'm happy to say, is running. We are running 2 sections of that too, very, very popular next year. The advanced placement psychology course is running with 1 section. I have that textbook that we would like to get your approval on the adoption for. And the sports and entertainment marketing course, very popular. I think right now there are about 74 students signed up for that course, so we're running 3 sections of that next year. I mean, that's
great.
you know, it's good news. It is. But you know, biochemistry we're running at the honors level next year. The advanced placement psychology is obviously at the advanced placement level. You know, very rigorous courses. And I think the sports and entertainment marketing has a lot to do with its title, its subject matter, and the teacher that Mr. Spinney is going to be the teacher for that. And I think he is someone who has generated a great deal of interest in the course as well. He's talked it up, so to speak, and I think that's a good thing. So I expect that will have popularity in the future too. The Introduction to Philosophy course is also running with 2 sections. Again, it's a new course, a new elective, very rigorous. There is no textbook adoption for that course. Mr. Kane is going to be using just a lot of, kind of a mishmash of materials, if you will. He does not feel as though he needs a textbook in the first year. He's going to be using a lot of smaller resources for that course, but it is running, and I just want you to know that. So those are 3 textbooks for new courses. The other one is a supplementary book to the civics and government courses at all 3 levels, the academic level, the honors level, and the advanced placement level. And I wish Mr. McIntosh were able to be here tonight. He unfortunately had a conflict and couldn't attend, but through a professional development opportunity that he attended, he came to learn that there is a book sponsored by the We the People Citizenship and Constitution organization at Boston University that will provide a set of this textbook. It's called We the People, the Citizenry and the Constitution. They will provide a set of textbooks free, a classroom set free to any teacher that attends the workshop. so he's getting a set of 30. The